Joe Askren here with drjoebrews.com. We are at Ulele Spring Brewery in Tampa for our next neural download. It's on the Riverwalk just north of downtown Tampa. Their head brewer, Tim Shackton, comes from an impressive hospitality lineage. Both his grandfather and uncle are connected to the brewing industry. Tim apprenticed at Hops Grill and Brewery after serving in the Marines and is just a wealth of knowledge, as you'll see. He's been mentoring our brewing certificate students for years. His brewing assistant, Tom O'Neill, is a graduate of the USF program. The Ulele Springs Brewery opened in 2014. I gotta say, this venue here on the Riverwalk is absolutely beautiful. The outside beer garden has a European festive vibe with a magnificent view of the Hillsborough River.
Before we get inside the brew house, if you'd like to find out more about our brewing community, click on the link in the description for more information.
Now let's meet Tim and his team and see what they're going to show us.
Hey, Joe Askren here with drjoebrews.com. We are at Ulele Spring Brewery here in Tampa, Florida. So happy to be here with Tim Shackton. Tim, thanks so much for taking time. Thomas is one of the other brewers here, and Megan is one of our certificate program students at USF. She's interning. We're going to learn about the milling process, which is so important. It's a critical step. Tim, I know you're talking a lot about that. We're going to get in there and be educated on all of this. Tim, thank you so much.
Can't wait.
Excellent.
Today we're going to make a light lager, and we have our grain staged. This is a 15-barrel brew house, so it's a considerable amount of grain. And we use base malts and specialty malts, so a smaller percentage of specialty malts if you want to do certain things. Our base malt for this particular beer is 2-row barley, high quality. Our specialty malts, we've got red wheat malt. We have a malt called Dextra Pills. It's also known as Carapils, Carafoam. This is an oxygen-starved malt that helps to aid in the head retention of beer. We also add a little bit of flavor. You don't want to add much, so a very small amount of Belgian biscuit, right? You want a kiss of that breadiness at the end of the palate.
Love it.
Grinding the grain is very important. You don't want to grind the base malt like a flour, because what will happen is you'll have a stuck mash.
Stuck mash, yeah.
Right? So you want to crack it to expose the endosperm of that grain to allow for complete saturation and extraction. But some of the specialty malts in some of our beers, you want to grind down a little bit on those specialty malts, because you're not going to get a lot of sugar out of those grains, but you're going to get flavor.
And Tim, do you do a double mill, or do you just decrease the distance on the dies?
In some recipes, you can will increase or decrease the width of the mill according to the recipe. For instance, with a stout, right? A lot of dark roasted malts, you want to grind those black patent and chocolate malts into a powder. And if you're less worried about extraction and you're more concerned about the astringency, you can take all those malts and grind them very fine and lay them at the top of the mash cold, right? That's so cool. You're going to extract as much of the color from the grain. And there's ways, of course, there's newer malts available on the market that are, dehusked, de-seeded. They create lower astringency in the finished product. It's there's a whole world of different grains available from when I first started over 30 years ago. So
that's fantastic.
It's fantastic.
All right, so talk to me about step one. We're milling. So you get the grain and obviously malted, and now you're gonna crack it or mill it and prep it. You're prepping it for the mash tun, right?
That's right. Behind me is our mill room. In most breweries, it's a dedicated, self-centered room, because it kicks up a lot of dust. Yeah. So you're going to want to, obviously, if you have a silo, it'd be a little different situation, but we are smaller than that. We'll use bags of malt, and some cases they'll be 50 pounds, some cases they'll be 55 pounds. Right. It's as simple as this. Once you set the mill and you open up the bags, you drop the grain into the mill hopper. Mm-hmm. You want to control the flow rate. If you go too fast, you could stick the mill and you have to unstick it. Yeah. The auger is important. As we auger the grain, it's going to go up into the top of the brewery. As we go over to where we're going to strike the mash, you'll see our grist case. And it's important that that you don't want it too fine, because what will happen is the grist will get stuck on the interior of that vessel. So, you know, there's all sorts of things, these subtle nuances of brewing, right? During the mash-in process, it's important. The setting the mill properly is essential for the future success of that brew. It can either make your life absolutely miserable for hours, or it can be conducted flawlessly. Right. So we'll cut the bags open, we'll start to grind the grain. Over here you got, all right, you're gonna keep this, the hopper opening closed when you add the first bag of grain. You're going to adjust the level of the mash. We have a few predetermined set points. Once it's set, we're ready to go. Then you come on over here.
Were you turning the dies closer or farther
just
apart?
A little bit closer. You want, it was just a little bit too far.
Awesome.
And then that starts the mill.
Okay.
That starts the auger, and then Tom comes on in.
The heavy lifting.
And then what we'll do is, thank you, Tom, we'll start to open it up. You don't want to go too fast. Sometimes listening to the sound of the machine as it's cracking the grain will give you an idea as to how well it's going.
So it's, for those who haven't seen an auger, it's corkscrewing it up through the auger line there.
And then over here, so you'll see up top side, the dry cracked grain is going to drop into the grist case. Now, this is important. Some breweries, you want to make sure that you have an even flow. Sometimes you want to check the milling of your grain. So you allow that first bag, maybe half of it, to drop through the transfer pipe into the mash tun. And then you seal it. So you want to capture all the grain up top.
Beautiful. Okay, and you just test this to test it.
Come on up. So yeah, the false bottom of the mash tun, and in the back you're going to see the grain start to drop. You hear it?
Wow, look at that.
Now it's starting to drop. I can tell by looking at it from here that this is a really good milling size. So what we're going to do very simply is we're going to close that.
So that closes it off.
Now we're going to capture all the grain in the top of the grist case.
And if you didn't let it drop into the mash tun, and if you just started to close it off, what issue might arise?
Well, there's a lot of things. One, if it's too powdery, it's going to pack the pipe. It's
going to pack
and it's not going to drop.
Okay.
And that becomes a world of pain, because you're going to mash all your grain in. You're going to have up to 1,500 pounds of grain up there. How are you going to get it down? You can hit that transfer pipe with a hammer.
That's a great tip.
Right? So you want to make sure that your grind is not too fine when you first start.
It's kind of like you're priming the pump, but you're priming it with the,
the flavor of your base malt is critical. Flavor of your water is critical. The hops, everything is critical, but it's just a matter of a brewer. A brewer is like a chef. So you're gonna, a chef might go into a market and pick up a pound of asparagus and say, this is fresh, in season, I'm gonna take this.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna go back to the kitchen and they're gonna say, I wanna build this entire plate around this one item.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how a brewer should think about it. If you're taking something, don't let the quality interrupt, right? You want to expose the quality of the raw materials. Yeah. And if you use high quality raw materials, it becomes incredibly difficult to make a poor quality beer.
Tim, that's very Italian of you. That's what that is. That's Italian theory in cooking, right? It's always about less ingredients, but the best ingredients.
And it's important
great.
to think. You have to think like that as you're doing it.
Excellent.
There's always science in it, but at the end of the day, you're just a brewer. You're just a brewer like you're just a chef.
Yeah. I think I've taken to brewing because of my chef background, because I like to cook, and you're basically cooking
Correct.
with, you have to pay a little bit more attention to the science.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I like that. Can I use that, Thomas? I like that. So they are hoisting the bags from over there all the way over to the mill.
And
Right.
so
Thomas, you're tasting this. What's the point of this? Why do you like to taste it?
Just to ensure that the ingredient that you're working with is what you think it is. Like if something was crazy wrong, you want to know.
Right.
99% of the time, you never really find an issue, but I feel like it's a good
Right on.
little practice.
I notice it kind of shatters. It seems fresh.
It does seem a little.
Doesn't seem stale at all.
I'd say that's probably related to like the oxygen, the water content that's still in it, but it should be great for our purposes.
Wow.
it's important to check every bag for mites.
Ah,
Or mold or anything.
That's why
Certainly.
another key point is
wow.
if you have base malt, have a few bags back up, because
Yeah.
a lot of times it can be inconsistent. Very rarely does it happen. But when you open a bag, you need to visually inspect the grain. Just like you would if you inspect the grain daily in a silo or sort the seeds. It's the same thing.
Exactly. It's interesting. After I crunch on that for a little bit, it kind of turns creamy,
Yeah.
and the flavor really comes out. It's great.
You can see the red wheat malt on top of the base malt. So you can see the different colors of the grain. Of course, wheat will add body. It'll bring a softness to the flavor as well. Aid in head retention.
So this is your control panel for your mill? Is that what we would call
Yes,
it?
it is. So your mill power and your auger power.
Okay. Okay,
You
gotcha.
You want to seal the mill at the bottom of the hopper when you start, because you're going to measure the flow rate by hand. You drop the grain into the mill like Tom is about to do right now. When you drop your first bag into the mill, right down here, you can adjust the flow rate
Okay.
for the grain dropping into the mill.
Okay.
And right here is where you measure the width of the mill itself. So
Okay.
you can see right here there's a symbol. I'll move you in there. The more it goes up, the wider the expanse is.
Okay.
The farther down you go, the deeper the grind.
Beautiful. Excellent.
Now, what happens if you get a stuck hopper? It's very simple. You shut the feed valve completely.
Okay.
You open up this manifold, right? You can turn on and turn off the auger, and sometimes you can move the auger to shake some of the grain out. But you have to be very careful with this equipment. It's extremely dangerous.
Absolutely. It ain't stopping unless you stop it. Yeah.
An auger could kill somebody,
Yeah.
just like CO2. It's the
Yeah.
same thing.
That's right. Good stuff.
Hope you enjoyed listening to Tim here at Ulele Springs Brewery. The first step on milling your grain is critical, and doing all the right things here can set you up for a successful brew day.
Again, if you'd like to find out more about our brewing community, click on the link in the description for more information.
Check out more hands-on industry sessions on my YouTube page and at drjoebrews.com. Also search USF Brewing Arts to find out more about our certificate program. Go Bulls.